Welcome everyone to Nicola Valley Talk, a product of Experience Nicola Valley, featuring many amazing blogs written by many amazing people who know a thing or two about living in small communities. Self-distancing in my home along with my guest who is in his home. So every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, join us. I am your host, Tania Stewart, as well as Nico Blogger with Experience Nicola Valley, helping promote our community, businesses, nonprofit agencies, musicians, artists, tourism in our valley and our sister community, Logan Lake. So tonight, our guest, many Merrittonians will recognize him firstly when he talks, his accent, and importantly, the place that you go to get your peeps cared for. For many years, Brian Snee and his wife, Carrie Lynn, along with their amazing team, have been a strong force here in Merritt. And so thank goodness that he has not yet become a Hollywood sensation. Instead has stayed here in Merritt and has been a Merritt sensation. So welcome to the show, Mr. Brian Snee.
Hi, Tania. Hello.
Hi. How are you tonight?
Very good introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
More than I deserve.
And I apologize to our viewers. We were a little bit tardy, but it was technical difficulties when it comes to live shows. I mean, it happens, and that's just
always the way. It's always the way.
We're calm and cool, and we know how to get it done, right?
Right, that's right.
So, Brian, I usually start this question off with, first before that, I would like to give a shout out to my firstborn son, whose birthday is today. I'm not going to say his age because it'll age me then. But anyways, Brian, so awesome to have you here as our guest. Could you please provide a snapshot of yourself, a bio of sort?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I was born in Glasgow in September 6th, 1968, so I'm a 60s kid. And born in Scotland when I was 4. My family uprooted and moved to Galway in Ireland, in the west coast of Ireland. I started school in Galway from 4 till 7. I went 3.5 years, and my first 3 years of school were in Ireland. And then when I was 7, we moved back to a place called Ayr in the west coast of Scotland, where I went to high school and elementary and high school. And then when I was 17, I moved back to university to Glasgow, and then I worked as a systems analyst for a computer company called Compaq, and I moved to a new service plant in Stirling in, oh my goodness, when I was 19 or 20. And when I was 22, I met this cute Canadian girl in a pub, and April 21st, and then I faltered over here to Canada. On October 15th, 91, I uprooted, sold everything I had because she wouldn't move to Scotland as I wanted. And I paid up my student loan and moved to Canada 29 years ago last month. And I have 4 kids. I own the optometry office here with my wife. We have a practice in Princeton. And I love life. Life is good.
And you know what, Brian? We can honestly say, whoever knows you, that you do love life. And so when I was reading up on your little bio there, I thought you were the accidental tourist that came to Canada. So she was visiting Scotland.
She was on holiday there for 10 days.
And so meeting the love of your life, Carrie Lynn, and then you guys co-founded, which you mentioned in 1993 together. So why Merritt? Please share with us how yourself and Carrie decided to open the store here in Merritt.
Well, that night in the pub in Glasgow, she told me she was in her last year of optometry. And to be fair, Tania, I thought she was studying some dumb 4-year North American degree in positive thinking. I didn't know what an optometrist was. And I said, good for you, hen. Good for you, stick in. That's good. It was a language barrier. And then it was only later I found out that an optometrist was an eye doctor. And when I came across to Canada, and I lived in Brampton, in a basement suite in Brampton, in Toronto, and just outside Toronto. And she was at Waterloo University. She was our last year of school, and she graduated. And she said, "Where do you want to live?" And I said, "Hawaii." And she said, "Somewhere in BC," because she's a BC girl. She grew up in Mackenzie, and so when I came across to BC, I thought, coming from Glasgow and then Toronto, I thought a big city. I thought Vancouver, and we went to look at Vancouver, and I thought, no, I really don't want to live here, because the weather was too much like Scotland. It was a bit warmer, but very damp, very wet, and there was a different climate, a different region here in the interior, which there is. So we were looking at Vernon, Kamloops, Kelowna, but there wasn't any opportunities there. But there was a practice for sale, a satellite practice here for sale in Merritt, and we came to Merritt, and I fell in love with Merritt very fast. Merritt was very friendly, and when you say hello to people, they said hello back, which wasn't the same in Toronto or Hamilton or Waterloo at all. And the weather was so warm, and it was so nice. We were here and first came to look at the practice in July or August. July, I think it was, and it was really like 35 degrees dry, which I'd never experienced before. And it was beautiful area. The actual hills look like Scotland, except in Scotland they're very green, because as I said, it only rains in Scotland with days with the letter A in the day, which is every day. It rains a lot.
And thank goodness you didn't go to Vancouver, because, well, then it would have been kind of like that too, eh?
Well, that was part of the reason, yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, thank goodness you guys decided here, because what a benefit, the two of you and your whole crew. I mean, your team. I do know that your employees just love working for you. And
oh no, they're great guys. It's a big family. I've got a fantastic staff. I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed.
Yes, and you are, and they are too. And so, and then now moving on to, so with many people here in the Valley, along with many people who live outside the Valley, who continuously say, and I'm just going to read this because this is what I kind of, when I was doing my research, say and promote that have had the absolute best service that they have ever seen when shopping for glasses or getting their eyes checked. The staff is so friendly, helpful, and accommodating. They take the time to give you all the options and focus on providing a memorable experience. How do you keep this up? How does your team and your wife keep it up? Not only in just this one store, but you're in your sister's store in Princeton.
One of the things we have an ultimatum from day one when we started our office. We put forward the thing that if you take care of the patients, the money takes care of itself. Sometimes when you put money before anything else through service or just marketing or whatever, it kind of disjoints what you're doing. So you take care of your patients, everything else falls into place, and that's really been our basic rule. As a rule, we try to do that. And again, the same point as my staff, I empower my staff. My staff have great aptitude, they have great service, and they've got a great big heart. So we empower our staff to make decisions on what they're going to do and what they should do. And they all make the right decisions, because that's where it falls. We're really blessed. It's really good. And Merritt's been really good to us too. I love this town. It's a great place to live.
It is, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I just want to share a quick story, because I know that you and your family and your team, and I'm just going to say your family, because your team is your family, and your wife and everything, go far and above. Because my partner was in the hospital one day getting his eyes checked, and you come in with your son. There was something to do with him, and you noticed his eye, and so you ended up calling your wife, and I think you guys, it was a weekend too, you weren't working, and you brought him down to your shop. Your wife checked him out and ended up prescribing him something, and for his eye. That is far and above service that you and your team and your family has done for people. Is there any other experience that stands out to you?
You know what? That's funny because it's a small town, and I think anybody that lives here, we can all bring out things that this town does for us, and it's not one specific person or one specific business. It's the town, and the town has a big heart. There's so many times that when you go to a business, and you need some help, or even on the weekend, there's so many businesses that have opened up and helped you out, or because you know these people, you know the person who owns that pharmacist, you know the person that owns that dental, you know the medical doctor here personally too. You know the Canadian Tire owner too. So you know them personally because their kids are in the same classes and the same soccer teams, the same sports teams as you guys, and everything, because you know so many people, it's just a phone call away. It's not, hey, do something for me. It's a phone call away, and it's like a big family. The Merritt is a big family. So rather than pat myself on the back, I think there's a lot of patting on the back towards this town rather than me. This goes on a lot more, and people in this town know it does. So it's true. It happens every day, man.
It does, and it does, Brent, because I do know that many times, like a doctor will come in, like just even a doctor will take their lunch break or won't take their lunch break and see you if insisting on it. So, Brian, could you share with us and our listeners the different services your team, your family provide to the customers and the services?
Well, in our office in Merritt and in Princeton, we have a full servicing optometry clinic. So in both those clinics, we have visual fields, which does a screening for your peripheral vision, which was one of the big flags for glaucoma, early diagnosis of glaucoma. We have both our offices in Princeton and in Merritt have an OCT, which is a ocular coherence technology, which takes a kind of onion layer image of your your retinal area for macular degeneration and glaucoma detection too. We also do co-management with the ophthalmologists in both offices, where people who see ophthalmologists once every 3 or 6 months, sometimes we can do the test in the winter months when they don't have to go to Kamloops or Penticton or Kelowna, and we co-manage with that. We have a full facility. We have a full lab in our office where we make glasses right there. We don't send them away, and that's an option that's a big plus. I have some fantastic staff who actually will bend over backwards and come in on weekends and do nights, and they'll do a lot of stuff, and that's in both in Princeton and Merritt too. So we just enjoy facilitating a great experience when you come into our office, for sure.
So, Brian, and like I was saying, your staff holds you in such high esteem. And anytime that I've ever gone in there, like smiles, like everyone smiles. Like, what is with that? I mean, I don't mind it. I love it. It's just smiles, and they're so gracious, and your staff are they're like so friendly, and it's great. I have to just shout that out to them because they are amazing.
They're happy.
They are, and well, it shows in your staff. I mean, you're only as good as who works for you and who are with you, right? So, Brian, while researching, I was amazed at all the foundations and work your family has been involved in through the years. Could you please elaborate on some of these and share it with us?
Okay. Was an extra organization called Canadian Vision Care. And that's a group of optometrists and opticians that go down, and they do free ocular health exams and provide vision care to third world countries. And those countries are in Malawi, they're in Uganda, they're in Philippines, they're in India, they're in Jamaica, and they're in Costa Rica. And what happens is, where there's not services, where people don't have extended health services, we as a group go out there in teams where we spend our own money, and we fly there completely funded by ourselves. It's not something that we create funding for, and we pay our own tickets, we pay our own accommodation, and we see people for 1 or 2 weeks where we do exams. And I did that for the first time about 23 years ago, and I've been going back for 23 years, and this is the first year actually that I haven't done that, which is kind of different. I've done that every year for 23 years, and this COVID thing is really tough because I'm still involved. I'm involved heavily. I'm on the board of the CBC team in Canada, and we've set up a clinic in Jamaica, in Montego Bay, where we have a clinic there that's facilitating the care when we're not there. We hired an ophthalmologist from Cuba. They come over, and we have all the equipment down there that we've taken down and funded through our organization, and we have a fully facilitated optometry office down there, and we see people who otherwise couldn't afford to see exams. When we go down, we do it for free, but sometimes down in these countries, unfortunately, when people go get their eyes checked, it's the same cost as what me and you would pay up here. And unfortunately, that puts it in the 1% bracket, where only 1% of people in that country can actually get their eyes examined, because there is a big two-tier difference. There's the people who are very wealthy and people who have no money, and there are people in between, but they're very sparingly in between, and they don't get any health care. And so we're setting up a system where we can identify people who can't pay anything, we can identify people who can pay a little bit, and then we can identify people who can pay moderately. And what the little bit and the moderately do is it helps facilitate that office in itself. It's independent to run independently from our organization, where we pay to get down there, and it's running and working very well. We've had to implement that this year, and we've done it from Zoom meetings and Zoom interviews, and lots of teams have a weekly meeting down there every Wednesday in Jamaica over Zoom, and it's working very well. It's working extremely well. We're actually implementing where they can take care of themselves, and it's something that and there's some good things about COVID, and this is one of the things we've actually implemented, where they are taking care of themselves, because there's an absence of people where we come down and see 300-400 people a day with a team of 6 people down there. They are seeing 15-20 people a day down in an office environment like we have up here, and it's keeping its own head above water because of the system we've set up, where they pay nothing or a little bit or moderate amount compared to what they would pay in the private sector down there, and it's filling a lot of people with things they wouldn't have before, which makes a huge difference.
To change and to work with COVID instead of against it, I guess, in a way, is it?
It's proactive. I wouldn't say
proactive. That's the word I was looking for.
It wouldn't be working with COVID, because I can't think of anything positive to think about COVID, to be fair. But you have something that you've worked. I mean, I've spent a year and a half of my life out of this country working over the last 23 years, and it's very close to my heart. And when you have to get something and keep it going, you've spent so much time working on it, you actually group as a group of maybe 3 or 4 people, you come up with different opportunities to keep something going, and then you invent something, you reinvent yourself, and it works out. It's something that I think we'll have to watch for, but it's definitely better than nothing, which has happened over the last 7, 8, 9 months. It's really we've reinvented ourselves again, because there's the big portion, the big quotient here is there's a big need in these places, in Malawi and the Philippines, and what we've done is we've changed the way we've swiveled what we're doing, and we're trying to get people to help themselves, which has ultimately been the goal for a long time, but it's been expedited by the circumstance we're in. And you know what, even up here, there's businesses that have done nothing, but there's a lot of businesses that have done something, and that's admirable, and people are pivoting on what they're doing, and it shows leadership in people, and it's shown when you put people through hard times, then you see the quality of such a town as Merritt. There's lots of things that's happened here. You see such the quality of small town businesses, and you see the quality of people who can think out of the box. It pushes people that way.
When you guys are on vacation, and when you're taking breaks now, like besides music, or unless you are doing music. And also, I think one of your sons was on a talent show at one time too, right? What do you guys do for fun around Merritt?
Merritt's a great town to be with. Outside, we are very fortunate. We have a cabin on Allison Lake, so and we spend a lot of time there, and it's a lot of fun. The beautiful climate is the greatest place in the world to be in the summer. Is here. We don't go anywhere in the summer. We stay here. But what we do is we love board games. We love family games, and we sing too. We sing, and we all my kids play piano, and they all play guitar, and actually they all play ukulele. Cameron Evan plays trombone, and Brooklyn plays all of those things. Cameron plays drums and all of the other ones, and Juliana plays saxophone, and Carolyn plays piano and guitar, and I play a little bit of a lot of those things too. We sing, all of us sing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and no bagpipes in there?
I played bagpipes once, and it was my neighbor across the road from here about 20 years ago had a set of bagpipes, and I went over to him. He called me over because he got this set of bagpipes from his dad, and he said, "Here, you can play this." I said, "Well, I've never played one before, but it's just a kind of chanter. It's just like a penny whistle, which you played at school, and the bag. So I played my first song on the bagpipes. You need a good set of lungs to play the bagpipes, but I have played the bagpipes.
Yeah.
There's more bagpipers in Canada than there are in Scotland. Believe me, trust me. The Canada wins #1 bagpiper band every year. Truthfully, SFU, and there's some really good pipe bands here. I've seen more kilt.
And so when you're not
Scotland too.
Oh, really? So when you're not playing musical instruments and singing and playing board games, what team are you watching? Football.
That would be the real football. The real football, because we kick it with our feet. It's called football, and the rest of the planet we call American and Canadian armpit ball. That's what we call it, because there's no foot involved in it. Really, it's kind of embarrassing.
That is funny. I'm going to remember that. I'm writing that down right now. So
with all the regalia,
Brian,
padding, really, how can you run with so much padding? It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that was funny. So Adonna Barley is giving a high five to you. I don't know if you know that person. Leona Marie Antoine.
Oh yeah,
I might be. Okay, and Kaylee Togerson are all, liking and loving.
How do you see this? I don't see anything here. You're keeping me hidden.
I know you can. Well, you will be able to after the show, I guarantee, Brian. So quickly, Brian, I just get the armpit football thing in my head. That's so funny. So Brian, could you share with our listeners, and I know you tapped on this quite a bit here, as what is special about the Nicola Valley and why this should be a stay vacation, a destination for travelers?
Oh my goodness, there's so much I can plug, and I plug all the time. About the Nicola Valley, it's a beautiful place. The weather is amazing. It's such an amazing weather place. The logistics of where it is so great because it's really close to Kamloops and Kelowna and Vancouver, even the Lower Mainland. The people are the friendliest people in the world. The greatest thing about Merritt is you know everybody. And if you just moved here, unless you sit in your house and just keep to yourself, you just have to go out and you'll meet people. When you're in the grocery store, when you're in the post office, you'll meet people and they'll help you. They'll give you directions. They'll welcome you. They'll introduce themselves. You don't have to be here very long at all. Even still, I've been here for 29 years, but when you just move here, and I hear it all the time from people who move from Vancouver, they come from Vancouver and perhaps they came because their spouse got a job working here and they kind of drag their feet. They're not too happy about being here. but ultimately 100% of the time, a year later or 2 years later or 6 months later, when you meet them, they're so happy to be here. And it's such a great place for the weather, the climate, the people, the history. There's so much goodness here. And it's a great place. I would have really hard time leaving because I love Merritt.
It is, and it is beautiful. And could you also share with us, our listeners, and there's so many more people who are on here, and I know you can't see them, but and if I have time, I'm going to name them off. Um, what the Experience Nicola Valley bloggers and this talk show means to the community, and how, in your opinion, is it benefiting local businesses, musicians, nonprofit agencies, and just everyone, just our valley?
Well, what's good about this is it gets people who you know a little bit, and you know a little bit. Even when you go back in here, you'll know the people, you'll know a little bit where they're from, and then you'll get a little bit a huge information about more about them. And even people, when you get a web page like this, you go on and you'll see the different people who have been on here, and even people you don't know, you'll get to know them a little bit better, which is just, it encourages growth and encourages relationship, and relationships and emotions and relationships just build so much on what this town stands for, and it's just friendships and people who want Merritt to grow, and it's a great thing. I really applaud you for what you're doing here. It's a really good community thing, and it's great. I'm glad to have been here.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad you were here too. And you know, and it is great. So I'm going to name off this. And I might say this person's name wrong because it's Othmar Voringa. Does that sound familiar? Othmar Voringa. And I apologize to saying it wrong. And Teresa Baxter, did I say that person? Yeah.
I know Teresa very well. She's a great woman, Irish woman.
Yeah, she's like
from Ireland.
Well, Brian, I again would like to thank you. And the armpit football thing, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's funny. I have to end this quick. We kind of ran over time, but that's okay. But is there anything else that you would like to say to us now that we have?
I want to thank Merritt for the greatest time. This is a great place I love to be, and I'm very happy here. And I'm thankful for Merritt for making me a Scotsman, a Merrittonian. I'm very happy here.
Oh, that is just so nice. Well, Brian, if you want to stick around, I'm going to end the show, and then I'll bring you back in, and we can have a little after talk discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye-bye.
Well, Mr. Brian Snee, I tell you, what a nice man he is, and his whole family, his whole team, like truly amazing. And I'm Scottish, by the way. Well, not full Scottish, but a little bit in me. Such so entertaining. But I thank you again for being our guest, Brian Snee, and thank you also to his wife, Dr. Carrie Lynn, along with their whole team, their family. And thank you to our viewers for joining us every Thursday night and doing shout outs and high-fiving. And remember, please, the 4 R's: reuse, rethink, recycle, and reduce. Keep our landfills empty. Okay, and thank you, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Good night, everyone, and thank you.